Hello everyone and welcome back to Rule of Warplanes. This time we're going to take a look at the Tier 6 American multi-role. It is the famous P-47B, Thunderbolt. Well, maybe not so much in game. Most people don't like this plane in game. But we'll get to that in a second here. First, I want to start off by saying send it in your replays. I haven't received any replays yet, while all these other World of Warplanes YouTubers are receiving replays. I feel a little left out, guys. Come on, send me some replays. I'll be sure to feature it. Try to have at least 20k, a 20k game. Although bombers and GAs are kind of an exception, especially at mid to low tiers, it is very difficult to get a 20k game in mid to low tier bombers and GA. So do keep that in mind. Those are the exception. At least try to get a 14k game with GAs and bombers. Now, I also want to start off by saying take advantage of the 4th of July bonus missions. If you take a look at this, well, I don't know exactly where it is, but on their website, it was talking about how they're going to have an event that's repeatable. All you have to do is get the most personal points on your particular team in the battle, and you will receive 5 tokens. That mission is repeatable, and I want to shout out Wargaming because in my review I said tokens now have much more value, so they need to have more ways for free-to-play players to receive tokens, especially since the price to specialize some of your planes with tokens is unbelievably high. So good job, Wargaming. I hope they continue events like this where you gain lots of tokens repeatedly throughout the weekend. I wish it was a little bit easier to get those tokens instead of being the top personal point, because those that aren't super great at the game really won't receive that many tokens. But honestly, it's not too hard to get the top on your personal points. Maybe not every battle, but fairly most of the battles, especially if you play planes that you enjoy. So good job, Wargaming. I would like to see a permanent way to receive tokens besides these daily missions. Maybe these daily missions need to get redone. I think they are not good the way that they are currently in the game. But other than that, I think having a repeatable mission for 5 tokens, as many times as you want to complete it throughout the weekend, or not even the weekend, it's 4th of July week, I suppose. That's good. Continue that Wargaming, continue that trend. Alright, without further ado, let us start the review. This is the first review I am doing on update 2.0.5 and the subpatch 2.0.5.5. respectively, I suppose. And so that means we have some changes. I won't be able to review these planes the same way that I was able to before, but we're still going to try to see what we can do. I have to admit I haven't played this game a whole lot, so you're going to have to forgive me if I get some stuff wrong. I really haven't played this game much since the update, which is probably going to be a trend until they do make some more changes, but it is what it is. In fact, it looks like the information tab won't even pop up right now. Glorious. But if we do click on the P-47B, it will pop up, hopefully, and we're able to read the history. So here we go. It was developed on request of the U.S. Army Air Corps after the production of the P-43 Lancer and the P-44 Rocket was discontinued. First flew in May 1941. A total of 171 P-47Bs were built and used for conducting flight trials and training of pilots. So it doesn't seem like this was the production model of the P-47, at least not the one that's famous throughout history, but the Thunderbolt itself is very famous, and throughout history, I don't know exactly what model it is. Maybe it's the P-47N, but this one didn't have too many of this particular build built, I suppose. And so yeah, that's the history. So let's quick take a look at the consumables and the equipment that we can put on it. And glorious, it looks like it's bugged. So I'm going to reload and see if it works. Okay, here we are back. So, it does show that we can actually get into our service department now. Yay! Clap, clap. Alright. So, consumables, before it's specialized, you are only given a cockpit consumable, engine, and forward firing weapons consumable. So, here for the consumables, of course, you don't want to place these, although it is 4th of July, so I may actually get a little bit uh, special and make a special 4th of July video with these sparklers and fireworks. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that out of the way, you can also put either a first aid kit or a premium first aid kit, fire extinguisher, premium fire extinguisher, or increased income. Personally, I'm going to go with the first aid kit, but if you guys prefer to have a fire extinguisher, by all means put that on there. I also went with engine restarter, i.e. pneumatic restarter, and universal ammunition, because universal ammunition is ultra cheap now because it is just a consumable. That's a great change. I do like that. So, equipment. Well, this is where I'm not very I don't know. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm not super familiar with it, but if we take a look at this, I do have it specialized. So let's see if I can switch it to the specialist configuration. There we go. Now, for specialist, there we go. Now we have our specialist configuration. So we have the control surface trim and improved fragmentation, which, if you can see, you do have a lot of ordnance, so it does work out fairly decently. I don't really have equipment on there because, well, yeah, I just don't. Stock equipment just isn't viable. It's not really until you get to Ultimate that it really makes a difference. I'm not really going to go over this because I'm not super familiar with it. I'm just not going to give advice on that. I'm sorry, but I'm not a big fan of the system. I'm not going to review it. Upgrades. Now, I do want to bring your attention to this. Okay. When specialist configuration, you are allowed to have bombs and rockets. On my Corsair, I believe it is, specialist configuration removes my ability to mount bombs, which I'm not a big fan of. But in this one, it doesn't matter because they are in separate slots. So you're able to mount your bombs and your rockets, which is a good thing. And trust me, you want those bombs and you want those rockets. With that being said, let's take a look at the general stats, because this plane is fairly controversial. Yeah, whatever. So if we take a look at this, well, this is the first time I've looked at these kind of stats. So you can actually expand the stats right here. Now that is different. I don't know if that's super useful. I'd rather have it right here. And there is a ton of stats now that we have. Let me just open them all up. I guess that's a good thing, but it makes it so I can't put them all in one slot, I suppose. Well, the first thing Wargaming talks about is powerful machine gun, complement effective against aircraft with high survivability. Well, okay, so if we take a look at this, you are given 8 50 cals. If we take a look at the 50 cals, they have 45 damage per second, 750 rate of fire, and an effective range of 1,700 feet, which isn't awful. For 50 cals, it's not tragic. It is not great, but it is not tragic. You do have to get fairly close to your opponents with 50 cals because, well, they are such small armaments. But you do have 8 of them, and when they are on target, they do a lot of damage. The firepower feels very good on this plane. I personally, that is one of the main things I like about the plane. If we take a look, the next thing, it's got low survivability, often catches fire. Again, this is absolute garbage because, well, the Thunderbolt is a tank. You are an absolute tank. If you compare it to attack aircraft or bombers, sure, you don't have as much hit points for the tier, but in terms of multi-role hit points and multi-role survivability, it is excellent. It is one of the best at the tier, and that is one of the main effective traits about the Thunderbolt is its massive ability to just soak up damage. It takes a lot to take the Thunderbolt out of the sky. It's even comparable to some heavy fighters. So, you have 380 hit points, not terrible. Resistance to damage, I really don't know how these stats are, but they're there if you want to check it out. It's got high airspeed, long-lasting boost. It has a 20-second boost. That is significant, but the boost itself is really lackluster. The amount of power, the amount of acceleration, the amount of thrust that you are given when you use your boost is very minor, and it is for that reason that I don't really like the boost on this. Yes, you have a lot of it, but it's not good boost at all. It's one of the worst multi-role boosts I've ever seen, despite 20 seconds of boost. So, there's that. In high airspeed, it is fairly speedy. I don't know exactly how that stacks up, but it does feel fairly fast. You're not going to want to use boom and zoom tactics on this plane, because you're just not going to be able to outrun anything. But it is fairly fast. It's definitely faster than many fighters at the tier and so forth. It's got low effective and maneuvering combat, so let's take a look at that. It's got 13.3 seconds to turn 360 degrees. That is abysmal. At tier 10, even at tier 10, that is abysmal. You really won't be able to make use of your maneuverability, and you will see that in the replay. Do not turn fight with planes, because unless it's a heavy fighter, you really aren't going to outturn it. Or another Thunderbolt, I guess, but you'd probably just get stuck in a turn fight with another Thunderbolt. Don't turn fight with your opponents. If they want to get on your tail, let them. I hate saying that. I recommend constantly turning the plane and trying to look for targets, right? But you don't want to get in an exclusive turn fight with any plane, because you will lose. You are one of the least maneuverable planes at the tier, and it is for this reason that I think a lot of people really despise this plane. It's not very fast, and its maneuverability is atrocious. It's basically comparable to a heavy fighter, and for that reason a lot of people don't like it. But as long as you know what you're doing and you're not trying to get yourself stuck in a turn fight, you are good. I will highlight that. I will stress that a lot. I will highlight that a lot in the replay, that once you learn how to play this plane and what the limitations of the plane are, it's not too bad. So do keep that in mind. 13.3 is atrocious, but you can make that maneuverability work if you know what you're doing. So, with that being said, let's go on to the next point. The next point is it's effective in mid-altitude combat and in destroying small amounts of ground targets. So the first part of that looks like the optimum altitude is 0 feet, so you want to stay very low to the ground. Make sure that you're smashing into buildings, because otherwise you are going to be in the yellow zone. That's obviously bugged. But yeah, the maximum optimum altitude is 4221. You're certainly a mid-altitude. You're not going to want to be going up to bombers. You do feel quite sluggish, but at the same time, going down too low, well, that's kind of where you want to be. You do want to be mid to low, and for that reason, that's because, well, you are able to destroy small amounts of ground targets. I beg to differ. You can destroy a lot of ground targets. Not with your guns. Don't use your guns. They're only 50 cals. They're going to suck against ground targets. However, you do have 8 rockets, which I will bring up right now, which are effective against armored ground targets. So you want to use these rockets against ground targets. You do have 6 of them, so you can use them against other planes if you know what you're doing, and if you have Rocketeer and that type of stuff, and if you get lucky. You can definitely make use of those rockets and get Rocketeer medals. However, you don't only have rockets, you also receive 2 500-pound bombs. Yes, 2. And it's for this reason that makes this Thunderbolt stand out from the rest of the competition. It's an incredible amount of guns. The 850 cals do feel really good, and then you have the ability to smash ground targets like no other. You have two 500-pound bombs. They feel extraordinarily good, um, and obliterating ground targets is literally no problem in this plane. Rockets, same deal. They're not fantastic, but they are very, very good. Um, you know, you can't complain. So, how do I recommend flying this plane? Oh, one last thing. You can carry bombs and rockets. Yeah, okay. Just make sure you don't use your guns to destroy ground targets, and you'll be doing just fine. So, with all that being said, how do I recommend playing this plane? I recommend flying it at low altitude. Your boost, you would have to use almost all your boost to gain any sort of altitude whatsoever. And personally, I don't think a high altitude advantage is what you want in this plane, because once your bombs and rockets reload anyway, you're going to want to go and destroy the ground, because that's where this plane excels. It has the ability to annihilate air targets with its 50 cals, but because it has so much ordnance, it can also deal with ground targets, and that flexibility is very nice in the plane. It's not the fastest. If planes do get on your tail, you're really not going to be able to outrun them, and you're just going to have to let them be on your tail. So the strengths is its ability to smash ground targets, and its 50 cals feel really good. It also has fantastic survivability, but you do have to weigh that against its horrific maneuverability, and really it doesn't have the greatest altitude performance. It doesn't have the best maneuverability, doesn't have the best airspeed. So if someone gets on your tail, you are most likely going to die if they stay on your tail. And you really can't do anything about it. You just have to hope and pray that they leave you alone, or one of your allies comes in and helps you out, because you really can't do anything about it. And I think that's why a lot of people dislike this plane. But as long as you're willing to accept that you aren't going to outturn or outdo anything, you're fairly decent. If someone gets in your tail, you really just have to ignore them and use your survivability to hope and pray that you don't die. And it's for this reason I think this plane is incredibly great sometimes when you don't have a lot of planes that get on your tail. But if you have a human or a bot that really wants you dead and thinks you are the most important thing to destroy, there's really nothing you can do about it. So yeah, that is troublesome. But you do have two 500-pound bombs. I think they reload in like 120 seconds, 110 seconds, something like that, which is actually like twice as worse as the Tier 5. But you do have two of them. The Tier 5 also has two of them, so I think that's the stupidest thing ever. It should have a 60-second respawn timer just like the Tier 5, if not even lower. But 120 seconds, it really doesn't seem that bad. It could be worse. And two 500-pound, even if it was like 120 seconds with one bomb, it'd still be pretty good for ordnance. So you do have a very great ability to smash ground targets. With that being said, I think I've outlined what this plane is good and not good at fairly well. So let us go into some gameplay so I can demonstrate what I've been talking about. And welcome to the replay. This replay was featured on Zem's channel, Shrike Gaming, so you may have seen this replay already, but I wanted to commentate and demonstrate exactly what you can do in this plane. And if you know what you're doing, you can make it work really well. So we're on this map. This is kind of a fun map because there's 2 factories and there's 5 total sectors. So that means that if nobody takes the factory, the battle can last a very long time. And long battles are how you get high scores. And also there's an airstrip in the center. And that airstrip works brilliantly for farming points. So I think a lot of people would not want to get stuck in turn fights, so they would not go to the center in this plane. However, I think it's a great idea to come into the center in the Thunderbolt. And why is that? Well, I think you'll see. Now, do note this was taken a day or two after update 2.0.5 was released, so the hit registration is just absolutely screwed up in this replay. So you will have to overlook that, I suppose. It's not me cheating with mods or anything, it's just that literally the hit registration is completely messed up in this replay. but that is okay. So, you see, I am turn fighting with a boomerang, and that's because air defense planes suck at turn fighting, so even though they're in a boomerang, you can still outturn them fairly alright. There's an SE-100, I do want to get rid of him because I find that I really don't want him being on my tail, so he will die. And now I'm flipping to attack this Yak-9. Now people are like, why are you turn fighting? But I'm not turn fighting because the planes aren't looking at me. I'm not their focal point, and because they're not looking at me, I can get on their tail and I can take them out, and that's not considered turn fighting. So those are the type of situations you want. Now I do realize that the enemy is taking this factory a bit faster than I'd like them. I'm worried they're going to take it. I don't want them to have the factory. I don't care if we take any factories, but I don't want the enemies to take any factories either. It's for this reason that I come over here. Now, if I was in almost any other plane, I wouldn't be able to come over here and deal with a factory, or any other multi-role. I couldn't really come over and deal with factories like this. But because you have massive 500-pound bombs, I came in, I reset it just enough to give me enough time to shoot down a plane, and we're getting up on this IL-2's tail, and we are just going to pummel him with as many rounds as we possibly can. He's taken a ton of damage, and you do see that the 50 cals work great on these heavy or attack aircraft. It's not fantastic, but it does work pretty decent. We almost kill him. I didn't want to ram him, although I probably would have survived a ram because this plane really is an absolute flying tank when it comes to multi-role capability, survivability. But I didn't ram him, which is probably a good thing. I came around and let's take out this last GA, and then I think my job will be done, and I will head back to the airstrip. It is mostly in our favor, so even if they do come back and start attacking, it would take a lot for them to take it, although some idiot ally just died over here. I do have all my rockets, and they are ground rockets, so I think this is a little bit of a misplay. I should have dropped my rockets and taken out something. However, I feared that I wouldn't quite take out a ground target, and I didn't want to make it easy for the enemy GA to take a section of ground targets. So that is why I did not fire my rockets at ground targets. But rest assured, the rockets are fantastic for destroying ground targets. I just didn't want to mess myself up, and I really didn't want to stay there longer than I absolutely had to. If I played this battle again, I probably would have dropped them anyway, though. But that being said, now I'm in a furball. There's a lot of planes over here, and I need to find a plane that I can actually attack. Now we got an invisible 109E, so yeah, fantastic. Invisible 109Es, I love bugs, I love glitches. That guy is using a hack pack. Make sure you download my hack pack today. It's free for anybody, and it gives you a massive advantage in battle. It makes you invisible. You literally cannot be seen. I'm joking. It doesn't exist. Don't mess with me. But anyway, I do have planes on my tail, but it's at this point I can't do anything about it. I'm not going to turn fight them, so I'm going to find somebody that's unsuspecting. That KI-43 was attacking our ally, and was in a straight spot, so taking him out was super easy. Now I'm not going to attack the guy that's on my tail, I'm going to attack this 109E. However, well, I'm on 2 hit points, I'm not going to last long. I do blow up, I almost destroy the invisible plane, which would have been pretty nice, but I don't. We do have the airstrip, so respawning is not an issue. We are at 8,125 points already, so not too bad at all. And my plan to stop them from taking the factory has worked brilliantly, because they do not have the factory. We don't have a factory either, but it doesn't matter because I can farm more points. And that was the main goal of this battle. I really wanted to farm enough points. I wanted to get a 20k game in this plane, so I could really demonstrate what to do and what not to do in this plane. Now, I am turn fighting. This is considered turn fighting. I am turn fighting a 109E. However, he isn't quite exactly looking at me. He was looking at me for a little bit, but he kind of ignored me now. So now it's not considered turn fighting. And I do have a lot of allies around me. He's the only enemy around here, so I think it's warranted to turn fight with him. We do have to take a factory, so that is a little bit disappointing because it will make the battle end just a little bit too short, in my opinion. But it'll still be good enough for us to get a nice battle. Now we're attacking the KI-43-2, almost take him out, not quite. And I'm not going to focus on him because it would just take too much time to turn. Instead, the Spitfire is making himself a much easier target, and I kill him and he still had like 95% of his health, so that's great. And no, now we heard the bullet shots, but it's a bit late now. A bit too late for that. Because I spawned and I really didn't drop too much altitude, getting up here really wasn't too bad, but do notice that my boost in this replay really shows that although you have 20 seconds of it, you have to use a lot, and it really does not give you much benefit with that boost. It is a very terrible boost. Um, but that is that. Bomber is down, and now we're going for the WWII. Well, at least the second one. And you can see how, because the guns basically never overheat, and you have 850 cals, the firepower feels really, really good on this plane. And couple that with the ordnance, those are the two specialties. Although it does have good survivability, but you really do have to rely on survivability to keep you alive, rather than your ability to turn fight. And I think that's a lot of things that people don't quite understand. Now we're attacking the Spitfire 1, but we're not quite able to take him out. I was gonna kind of turn, but he's looking at me now. I will never, ever, ever even slightly outturn a Spitfire, so I'm going to ignore him. Full boosting in a dive. I am faster than him, so I will outrun him. I would typically slow down to attack this GA. However, I want to keep my speed up so I can get away from the Spitfire. And I do escape the Spitfire, and our fire actually takes out the WWII, so I don't, or WWII, I'm sorry. But now, because I've increased the distance between the Spitfire and me, now I can take him out. So I think that's one thing people have to realize. Against maneuverable targets, you have more airspeed to outdo them. So against maneuvering targets, you either go head-on or you speed away from them, and that's kind of what you save your boost for. However, against fast targets, well, you can kind of keep up with them, and you can typically outturn speedy targets like heavy fighters. And some fighters, you won't really be able to outturn them, but you can keep up with them when they're trying to get away from you. So that's kind of what you have to do on this plane. If it's a maneuverable target, increase the distance. If it's a fast target, just try to keep up with them. We take him out, and now we're trying to find another target. This KI-43 is on my tail. I literally can't do anything against him, so I'm not gonna. I'm going to ignore him and look for somebody else. However, he destroys my tail, which makes taking out this 109E incredibly difficult, because now my plane is even more immaneuverable, and it's really messing me up here. But it doesn't matter. He's still on my tail. I'm hoping my ally will come and save me, but at this point I feel like I'm going to get killed anyway, so I'm going to drop down, and the battle's almost over as well. 25 seconds for our factory to take it, so I'm going to fire 3 rockets and drop one at the unique building for the garrison. 3 rockets, drop a bomb, and I wasn't quite able to pull up. But I tried to weed out, or farm up as much points as I could here at the end of the battle, which did give me a couple more points. We won't take the sector, so I won't get more points from that. But our factory gets the points, and that is a victory. That is a finish. That was a really good battle in the Thunderbolt. It demonstrated exactly what you can and cannot do in the Thunderbolt, in my opinion. And if you adopt this playstyle, where you're preventing the GAs from doing what GAs like to do, and you're preventing the circle cluster from becoming too ridiculous, you can make that work pretty well as well. This is very flexible in that regard. As long as you embrace the terrible maneuverability and embrace the fact that you're never going to outturn a plane, and just kind of let them be on your tail and just hope for the best. Sometimes you'll get great games, and other times you won't. But if you do adopt that playstyle, that is the best possible outcome with a plane. So as you can see, this battle was flown on May 19th, 2018. So it was very recently after 2.0.5. I don't have much at all. We got 6 weapon parts, a bunch of other good stuff, actually quite a bit of good materials for that battle. And yeah, we had way more personal points than anybody on either team. 105,000 credits, not too shabby. And yeah, I was still working towards specialist in this battle. I have it now, so it doesn't really matter. Um, but yeah, that is about it. Um, Thank you so much for watching, guys. And please, please, please send in replays. I would really appreciate if there are at least 20k games. But if it is a very good battle and I do not have the plane yet, I may actually do a review on it because I know how most of these planes work in the game. I just don't have all of them myself. So, send in replays, and if it's really good and I don't already have a review on it, I may actually just make a review on it. So, thank you so much for watching, guys. I know I haven't uploaded many uh, videos recently, but that is because it is summer vacation, and if anybody has kids or siblings that are still in school, then you will know that you really don't get any time to record, especially when the computer is in a public space. Well, not necessarily public space, but it's in the living room. Our computer's in the living room, or just outside of it. But anyway, that is why I haven't been uploading a lot recently. I don't know if I'll be playing World of Warplanes much anymore, but I do have a bunch of replays still, so that is good. It'll keep me covered at least till the next update, which is fine. I'll be able to catch back up on replays. With that being said, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.